emergency.
Welcome back to That Wee Wee Show, a podcast where we watch and discuss episodes of the ABC show 911. I'm Bex.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Ellen.
Thank you to everyone who has listened to our episodes so far and who has rated and reviewed us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you are listening, and who has shared our social media posts to try and help us get the word out about this podcast.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
In this episode, we're going to discuss Season 1, Episode 7, titled Full Moon Creepy AF, which aired for the first time on February 28th, 2018.
Last week on 911, the 118 celebrated Valentine's Day with the return of Chimney after his rebar incident. Athena was kidnapped by a broken-hearted lunatic, and Abby and Buck's first date ended in an emergency tracheotomy and a trip to the hospital. Not super romantic.
No.
Okay, so here is the official summary for this episode. A full moon keeps the crew busy with some of the craziest calls yet, as Athena investigates a potential home invasion and faces off against a rabid criminal. Meanwhile, Abby helps investigate the murder of a caller. Bobby and Buck have their hands full at a yoga studio for pregnant women, and Hen's past may become her future. This episode, I'm telling you, is just batshit. It is so weird. There's so much crazy stuff going on. We've got a very interesting list of content warnings here for this one. We have like a description or, a depiction of labour and childbirth. We have a character cheating on their significant other. We have a domestic violence. We have a home invasion. We have someone getting murdered but on the phone, so we can't actually see it, we just hear it. We have cannibalism. This is like, anyway. We have a fatal police shooting, and we have a tapeworm. So
I think that is my favourite trigger warning so far.
It is,
Tapeworm.
It's like, let's combine these into an episode. So, like, I'm just watching through this episode just wondering what the hell else could come next, because, my God, it just kept escalating. But it does start with a full moon hanging over the bay, like the water. And then we see Hen on her knees on the beach. It gradually, like, zooms into her, and she's crying while she's kneeling on the beach. And then she does this beautiful voiceover about how, billions of years ago, an astral body the size of Mars slammed into the earth and it created the moon. And the moon is part of the earth that's separated forever but always drawn back towards us. And goes on to explain that the full moon makes everyone act so crazy.
Yeah, Hen has such a great voice.
I would listen to Aisha Hind read the phone book if she read it like this.
Absolutely
It's
same.
just
Yeah.
sultry but soothing.
It's poetry. It's lovely.
So with that ominous opening, we cut to 24 hours earlier, and we're at the Wilson household, and Hen and Karen are getting ready for bed. And Karen wants to watch something, but Hen tells her, foreshadowing, that she needs to get her sleep because it's going to be a full moon tomorrow and it's always crazy. And we get a little bit of flirtation where Karen offers some suggestions on how she can help Hen get that sleep. To which Hen says that it would take that particular method of her getting sleep would take longer than watching an episode of whatever it was that Karen wanted to watch. To which Karen said, well, not for me.
Yeah.
To which Hen's all like, shade. And gotta love a little bit of lesbian sex humour going on here.
She's going to put in the extra work to get her across the finish line, apparently. But she's not interested, really. She just wants to go to sleep.
And Hen promises that it will still be the full moon tomorrow when she gets off shift, and she'll rock Karen's world tomorrow. Which, she's not wrong. Just not kind of in the way that she meant.
Yeah, they have a conversation here. Like, Karen complains that they're succumbing to LBD, which is lesbian bed death, which is definitely a thing discussed in the queer community.
Yeah, the question is, if they're not having sex, then what exactly makes them a couple?
Yeah. That's so sad, though, because they're, you know, they're raising a child together, like...
Yeah, there's a lot to this.
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in if they're not on the same page with their needs, I guess. So they need to talk to each other about it, obviously, and they're not doing that enough.
Then we go to an arcade at night and we get Bad Moon Rising, which is, you know, not on the nose at all for a full moon.
No.
And also not striking fear into the heart of any Supernatural fans at all.
Not at all.
So Buck strides through the arcade. It's, you know, kids playing, all that sort of stuff. And he goes over to the corner and there's a group of people gathered around a claw machine and there's a kid inside. So Buck asks, like, if he can take the kid out of the claw machine. And it's just, it's so cute. Fucking kids is the cutest.
Yes.
It is adorable the way he goes from his voice being sort of on one register when he's talking to the grown-ups and then goes up like 5 octaves and gets incredibly cute when he's talking to the kids.
I'm gonna get you out, is that okay? Yeah. But
and the girl's just like, okay.
But also, they call 911 and literally all 911 do is get a drill.
Yeah,
open it
surely,
up.
Like the mum says, she complains that the arcade didn't have the key, which they wouldn't, because whoever was renting the machines to them or renting out space to have the machines wouldn't give the key to the prizes and the cash box to the arcade. But yeah, surely somebody had a drill.
Yeah, like I
that
work
they could
retail,
have drilled the machine out,
and we've never not had a drill or at least a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Like, I currently work in a pet shop. We have a drill. Why do we have a drill in a pet shop? Apparently to get kids out of arcade machines.
This is a question that keeps coming up, or kept coming up for me as I was watching this series, is the number of times people would call 911 for things that I would not consider to be an emergent situation.
Oh, for sure. Like, and it happens in real life too, so...
Maybe it's just, the propaganda from the government has worked, and I am so afraid to call 911, call 000. I do not want to bother anybody. I will, drag my bleeding and broken body down to urgent care, then bother the hospital. But
the last,
yeah,
like the 2 times that an ambulance has been called on me, I called Nurse on Call first, which is like a Victorian, like a thing that we have in Melbourne that like connects you to just a nurse that's there 24/7.
Oh yeah.
And both times the nurse on call has been like, "What do you do? Like, I'm calling you an ambulance." I'm like, no, like I'm probably fine. Like, I don't want to bother anyone. Like, it's okay. And they're like, you can't breathe. Maybe I'll just like call you an ambulance. I'm like, no, like it's probably okay. Like, I just wanted to know like how safely I can take my asthma meds. And they're like, just get some oxygen.
Definitely. If one of my kids crawled into an arcade machine, I do not think I would be calling 000 for that situation.
Yeah, I'd be calling the manager.
To start with, definitely. But that's not what happened in the episode. In the episode, they called 911. Buck and his trusty power drill shows up, gets the kid out, rewards her for crawling into the machine by giving her a toy.
Yeah.
And I was very amazed that the child accepted the moo that Buck gave her, because I don't think that's the toy that she crawled in to get. And if one of my children had crawled into an arcade machine, there would have been an almighty tantrum if they had not got the prize that they had specifically crawled in to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, Buck is the best with kids. Like, it's just, yeah, long line of Buck being great with kids. He just
charmed the kid.
Yeah, that's what it is. She was too mesmerised by Buck to notice that she got the wrong toy.
Yeah, to be fair, like, she probably didn't want a cow, she wanted Buck, so...
Oh. All right, so we cut to the 911 dispatch locker room where Abby is getting, I don't know if she's about to start work or she's just finishing work, but anyway, she's in her locker.
I think she's starting work.
Yeah. And her phone rings and she takes it out of her coat and answers 911, what's your emergency, even though it's her phone. But maybe she saw it was Buck and she just did it for fun.
I think so. She sounds a little bit amused as she does it, so she's playing fun. She's having fun with him.
Although in saying that, I've definitely answered my personal phone with my store thing before.
And then Buck just starts howling. And she calls him a dork, which he is absolutely a dork.
Massive dork.
And asks him how his first day back is going.
Yeah, because this is obviously his first shift back after she sliced his throat open and shoved a pen in it.
Yes.
Although I note, and I was looking very closely at this, that while they were very careful to remind us that Chim had just been through an accident by putting marks on Kenneth Choi's forehead, there's no scarring or marking or anything on Oliver's throat here.
I saw that. Yeah.
So either, again, he's been off work so long that his throat has completely healed, or makeup just figured nobody's going to be looking that closely at Oliver's throat.
Like, she sliced him with a steak knife. Like, you think that it would have some kind of scar at least. Like,
plus, he went in for surgery. I'm sure that they went in and cut further up to try and get the bread out of his throat that way. So he should have some
kind of mark. Or
exactly.
Just put a bandage over him or something.
Yeah, a plaster or something to cover it up. Like, come on. You don't have to actually have scars on there, but... Anyway, let's not get nitpicky about
the poor 911 makeup department, which I'm sure have a lot of work cut out for them every week anyway.
Yeah, she asked him if he's all right, and he says, "Oh, it's okay. Someone's monitoring my bread intake."
Too soon.
And he does ask her if she's buckling in, and I'm like, okay, this is where I hang up the phone. I'm like, you cannot make jokes about your own name. This is too far.
Oh, I didn't even click. I don't think he probably
I
don't think
he meant that. But that's what I was thinking when I was watching it. I'm like,
Buck would definitely be the guy that's like, are you buckling in? And the whichever girl is with him at the time would just be like, no, goodbye.
Yeah, no, just that's enough. But no, he's actually talking about the full moon because it's going to get bumpy. And Abby's like, yeah, that's not a real thing.
I love Buck's argument is that it's science. He tries to say that every full moon the freaks come out, crime increases, emergency rooms are packed, animals and kids go nuts. It's a thing. It's real. Which he's not correct in that. I mean, there's no way that you can do actual studies on the effect of the moon on events, because there's just no way to control all of the external factors.
Yeah.
But most of the time when people are going through looking at rates of accidents, looking at crime rates, there's no real increase in accidents, crime that happen around a full moon. And most of the time the studies will say if there is an increase, it's probably because humans are involved in these accidents and these crimes, and it's almost like a placebo effect, like they think that the full moon is affecting them, so they're going to act crazy.
Yeah, as Abby says, idiots are going to be idiots no matter what the moon's doing.
Exactly. And Abby and Buck kind of counters by saying, Abby, I just pulled a kid out of a stuffed animal arcade game. And Abby's like, yeah, that would have happened no matter what. But a kid in an arcade, they're going to do something stupid.
Yeah, kids probably high on sugar and adrenaline. So
yeah, it's funny because when you do ask first responders, like in real life, or even like teachers and stuff like that, they always say that kids or people in general do get crazy in the full moon. And I don't know, it's just like, did other people in your profession tell you this and you've just adopted it as your, personal truth as well? Or is this actually a real thing that happened?
My mum's a nurse, and so she always talks about how, like, insane the full moon shifts would be. And, now whenever we have insane customers, we're just like, it's because it's the full moon tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Definitely a self-fulfilling prophecy there.
Yeah, maybe you just notice things are happening more because it is, like, I don't know, it must be a psychological thing. Anyway, Buck is convinced that it is real, and Abby is like, it's, whatever.
But this is also the first time Buck's worked a full moon, so he's just very excited for the whole thing, I think.
I'm 100% convinced that someone, Chim, is filling his head full of nonsense.
Absolutely Chim. No
absolutely
arguments.
Chim.
It's Chim.
But I guess we will see how the rest of the episode plays out, whether Buck is correct and it's going to be a crazy night, or whether Abby is correct and it's going to be a typical 911 episode with crazy things happening. As you can probably guess, which one of them is going to be correct just by that statement. Spoiler alert, it's not Abby. So we move on to our first 911 call of the episode.
Yeah, so this is actually where the creepy AF bit comes in. Right? An elderly lady is saying, there's a man outside my house. I don't know what he wants. And Abby is wondering if he's trying to get in. Can you see his face? And she says, no, he's just standing there, but he's looking at me. And then we actually cut to the old lady's name's Nora. We cut to a shot of her, like what she's looking at. And she's looking at her glass door that leads outside. And it's really dark outside. And there's a hooded man out there, like a hoodie. He's wearing a hoodie and with a hat, so you can't actually see his face because it's in shadow. And it's creepy as fuck, as the title suggests.
Yeah, it really is
really creepy.
All you can see is the hood and then his body, and his face is just complete blackness.
Yeah. And he says that I can't see his face. He doesn't have a face. Why doesn't he have a face? And Abby just says, okay, breathe, sit down. Well, someone will be there. So Athena arrives.
So she was called from the initial dispatch for the Prowler, but Hen and Chimney have also been dispatched. And when Athena questions why they're there, apparently Nora has a heart condition, and so they have been called in for the subsequent difficulty breathing and chest pains that she was experiencing on the phone with Abby. So Chim and Hen go inside, and Athena goes outside to check the property.
And it's interesting that it's just Hen and Chim on this shift. And Chim makes a comment that the only way to survive a full moon is to divide and conquer. And Athena's like, it's your enemies you're supposed to divide. But yeah, this is like, I think the first sign of Chim being very like superstitious and believing in all this stuff.
Yes.
Which is definitely going to come back through the series.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Nora's still on the phone with Abby. So Athena's searching out the back while Hen and Chim attend to the patient, and Chim's like, I think he just had a panic attack. Tells her how to breathe, and then goes straight into, it's a full moon. It brings out all the creeps, all the crazies. It's like, good work, Chim. That's great. Calming people down.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah, that really helps.
So he moves away. He's writing something in his little notebook. He must be making notes to fill out a report later on or something, leaving Hen with Nora. And she looks over Nora's shoulder, and you see her sort of start. She flinches a little bit and stands up. Ominous music is playing. And she confirms with Nora, was this where you were standing? when you saw the man? Nora says, yes, that's exactly where I was standing. So then we get a cut of us looking over Hen's shoulders, and we can see Chim in the reflection.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Which, oh, the shiver that went down my spine when you realise that if we can see Chim in the reflection and he's standing behind Hen, that means that hoodie guy, he wasn't outside. He was inside, behind Nora.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes everybody else a little bit longer to catch up with us. But eventually they get there, and then Athena comes back inside because she hasn't found anybody outside, and the ground was wet, so if somebody was outside they would have left footprints outside. But he hasn't left footprints outside, he's left footprints inside. And we look down.
Like points downwards, and there's
Yeah.
muddy footprints on the floor.
Yep. So he was inside, standing right behind her. Ugh.
Yeah, very
And
creepy.
even Athena's like, okay, I got chills.
Yeah. But yeah, like he didn't attack Nora though. So they're kind of wondering like, what was his intent? Like, why was he there? Maybe he just got spooked when she called 911.
But they do suggest that Nora find somewhere else to stay for that night. But they're trying not to worry her. They're just like, you've been through a lot, it might be best if you have company. They're not telling her that the man that was outside the house was inside the house.
Yeah, especially since she just had a panic attack.
Yeah, you don't want to worry her any further.
Unless you're Chim, and then you just tell her about the full moon.
She says she's going to stay with her daughter, and they clear her to go, and then they get another call over the radio to say that there's another emergency somewhere else. So they, in MacArthur Park. So Athena is going to give them an escort since it's not a nice neighbourhood. But there's going to be an officer out the front until Nora's daughter picks her up, so she'll be safe. So,
and Chim still hasn't cottoned on either. He's like, what's going on? And Hen's like, I'll tell you in the truck. So they, really don't want to spook Nora.
Which, considering how long it takes us to get to the scene where they roll up to MacArthur Park, it must be a pretty, either very, very short or very, very long drive, because we don't get that discussion until quite a bit later.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we have another 911 call that Abby takes.
oh yeah, this part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this woman's a lot younger on the phone. She says there's a man, he's trying to break in. You can hear thumping on the door, and she's locked the front door, but she's gone up to the bedroom, and there's all this crashing and banging going on. And he's at the door, he's here, and then Abby's trying to make sense of what's happening. She's like, tell him that you've called 911 and the police are on their way. And there's just still the doors breaking down, and the lady says, why are you here, and then there's like just screaming and like some really horrible sounds going on.
Yeah, it's just awful.
And Abby's just sitting there going, oh my god, what's happening, kind of thing.
I watched these episodes with closed captions on, and closed captions very helpfully informed me that there was thudding and squishing going on, which I think that was worse, having it described to me.
Yeah, I
like
don't need to think about it.
Yeah, closed captions in this show can be brutal. But yeah, Abby's just sitting there, can't do anything at all, and then the call disconnects.
Yeah, she looks so horrified. I mean, naturally, she doesn't know what's just happened, but it sounded pretty horrific, so.
Yeah.
But then we go back to Buck and Bobby, what they're up to.
Yeah. Because if you're going to traumatize your audience, you then need to do a complete emotional 180 and go for something a little bit more lighthearted. Buck is trying to convince Bobby that the full moon is an actual thing and that gravity is heavier during full moons.
Scientists have proved it.
Yeah, Bobby wants his citations for this fact. asks him what peer-reviewed scientific publication he read that in, and Buck's like, I don't know, is the internet considered a scientific publication? And no, Buck, it's not. Definitely not. But yeah, Bobby is in the skeptics camp. He does not believe in the full moon, in folklore, in magic. He's like a man of facts and science.
Oh, so he says he is anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Even though he keeps going to church to confess his sins.
Well, he doesn't necessarily say that he believes in God. He's just using God's infrastructure for his own purposes.
He's using it for therapy.
Yeah.
So they're at a yoga studio. The instructor meets them, leads them to their patient. It's a like pregnancy yoga.
It's
studio?
prenatal yoga. Their patient is 6 months pregnant, and the class is open for mums who are 5 months pregnant and up. And she does this, like, throws open the doors to the yoga studios and says, and behold, the Salabhasana. At which point I started screaming at my television. Because the Salabhasana, or as Buck correctly interprets or recognizes, is the locust pose, which the full Salabhasana is you lying on your stomach and lifting your feet up in the air. Jackie is doing what is known as the supported one-legged locust pose, so she's lying on her stomach with one knee under her and one leg up in the air. But the fact is, she is 5 months pregnant and she should not be doing anything on her stomach at all. She should not be putting... She wouldn't even be able to lie down on her stomach, flat on her stomach at 5 months, let alone be putting all of that pressure on that big pregnant belly. And if... No!
Yeah, it looks like a terrible idea. And like, if you're doing prenatal, like if you're an instructor for a prenatal yoga, maybe you should know this.
You can do the locust pose if you are pregnant, but you do it on your hands and knees. So you've got your weight braced on your hands, you on one knee, and then you stick your leg up behind you. That's how you do it when you've got a massive belly.
I do
You
love
are
this.
supposed to do very gentle yoga while you're pregnant and not sticking your legs up in the air like that.
No.
I love though that Buck recognizes the pose because he's dated like 50 yoga instructors.
Yeah.
Of course he has. So we mentioned in the last episode how amazing the 118 are at looking at people and being able to diagnose exactly what is wrong with them. And we're going to get a lot of that in this episode.
Yeah.
Because Bobby goes over to check Jackie and her baby. He kind of reaches underneath her and immediately says, oh, there's no trauma to the stomach. Really? You managed to get that with like 1 or 2 touches. Buck then grabs his stethoscope and checks Jackie's vitals. I don't think he was listening to her long enough to be able to get a proper sample, but he then stethoscope on her belly for like 2 seconds. And in that 2 seconds, he not only was able to find the fetal heartbeat, he was able to listen to it long enough to be able to determine that it was within a normal range. And
Yes,
honestly,
okay.
these men are wasted as paramedics. They should be in hospitals if this is the skill level that they have at being able to find heartbeats and diagnose traumas.
Okay, so normally to listen to a baby's heartbeat, you need an ultrasound machine, basically.
Yeah.
Like even when you are about to give birth, they still
They still
will
ultrasound
use
you.
a
Yeah.
Doppler machine to get a heartbeat. You cannot listen with the stethoscope. You might be really, really lucky and maybe be able to hear through.
But you'd have to have it
But-
direct. You'd have to make sure that the baby was like right up on the stomach and in the right position, and you put the
Yeah,
stethoscope
it's
directly
not-
over. You can't just
It's
like
not something
wave
you
your
can just
stethoscope
do.
at them and go, oh. And even then, you need, like, even if you were taking a grown-up's pulse to get their heart rate, it's still what, minimum of 15 seconds?
Yeah.
Is that what the 15 and then times by 4?
I don't know.
Somebody correct me on the internet.
Remember. Yeah.
If you're taking somebody's pulse manually, how long do you have to count for before you can then multiply in order to get the average? But it's going to be longer than 2 seconds.
Yeah, like I know the
I'm
reason
sure.
that you can't use a stethoscope as well, like accurately to detect the fetal heart rate, is that usually you'll just pick up the mums, because obviously it's louder and all over everywhere.
Yes.
Anyway, Buck's just
Anyway,
so
inside you.
Jackie is fine. The baby is fine. Bobby diagnoses her with a slipped disc and says that they should probably put her onto her side. Which, again, I realised this poor woman has been in this position for 5-10 minutes.
at least
Nobody thought to move
7,
her?
I think, because usually the paramedics take about 7 minutes to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, this poor woman's just...
Yeah, they didn't even want to try and move her onto a side or anything.
Nope,
She's just
nope, we're just
had her
gonna
leg
leave
in
her
the air for all this time.
But yeah, it's also not her baby. She says she's a surrogate, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're moving her and someone screams and it's not...
Yeah, then all hell
patient.
breaks loose in the room. Bobby leaves Buck to look after Jackie, who's the first lady. And then he goes to check on the second woman, who says she's having contractions. And she's 38 weeks pregnant, which is almost there. And Bobby says that he doesn't even like touch her at all. He just sort of looks at her and goes, I think you're just having Braxton Hicks, which is like a false labor, like you have little contractions before the main event kind of thing.
All I could think in this entire thing was just Rachel from Friends going, no uterus, no opinion. Because, it's definitely not forced labour.
No.
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell with that sort of thing, but, he can't just tell her that she's not in pain, when she clearly is.
Yes.
So he has to treat it like the real thing until it actually goes away or progresses into something worse.
Just the massive eye roll at a male telling a female what she is experiencing is just so really
Yeah, it's soft labour. It's fine. Thanks.
You're not actually in labour. Bobby says that she will be fine. She's probably just dehydrated. Asks for someone to get her some water. She gets handed a bottle of water, but she probably didn't need it because over on the other side of the yoga studio, there's plenty of water.
Oh, no.
Because mum number 3 has just had her water break all over the yoga mat.
So Buck rushes to her, calls dispatch requesting additional paramedics.
Yes, I think they're going to need all the help they can get.
I love mum number 3. So
Mum number 3
her
is
water
great.
her water has broken and she's immediately pulling off her pants and getting down on her hands and knees, muttering, it's coming, and Buck, trying to be helpful, goes, no, you've just started having contractions, you're going to be fine, it's going to take a while, and she just death glares him and says, this is my 4th kid, he's coming. And there's an implied dumbass in there.
Once again, no uterus, no opinion.
No opinion.
Yeah, she's not taking any of his crap.
So yeah, Buck's also fully panicking at this point.
Oh yeah.
Beth, who was mum number 2, her contraction are now 1 minute apart, and Bobby's like, oh shit, you're having the baby. We can't even get you in an ambulance because this baby is coming right now.
But again, I mean, it hasn't even been 1 minute since the contractions started, so how have they gone from 1 minute apart within... Look, I understand it's only a 40-minute episode. They got to keep things moving, and that the fact that everything is happening so fast is really part of the feeling of being overwhelmed with everything happening all at once. But this is not how labour works.
So everyone's panicking. The yoga instructor's just there oh yeah, they say when a full moon's halfway between the eastern horizon and its highest point, it can induce labour. And it's like all the women are just giving birth, and she's like, probably should have cancelled this class.
And mum number 4 has suddenly started screaming and muttering, oh no, not now, not now, not now. So now we have... Jackie's fine, by the way. They've got her on her side. She's relaxing comfortably. But we have 3 women in various stages of labour.
Mm-hmm.
And Buck reacts to the instructor saying that the full moon is known to induce labour by basically doing the told you so dance. And Bobby is like, we do not have time for this. So Bobby asks for everybody who is not currently giving birth to go out into the hallway to, clutter up the hallway and make it difficult for the other paramedics to bring in the gurneys. And turns to Beth, who, if you're keeping count at home, was the woman who went from Braxton Hicks to active labour in less than a minute, and tells her to push. Which,
Yeah.
if she doesn't have the need to push, don't tell her to
Yeah, you
push.
can't push. It's not going to do anything.
You push when the body is having the contraction.
Yeah, and also... No, I won't say that. That's probably too far. I was going to say the only way to tell if she's ready to push, if she's in active labour, is by basically inspecting what's happening down there.
Yeah, you
I
can
don't
shove
really
your
think
fingers
Bobby's ready for that.
Or at least, stick your head under the towel and have a look.
He doesn't even really look much. He just goes, oh, she's crowning. Like, push harder. And this poor woman's like, it's just... I don't think they one of two things has happened here. Either they didn't bother consulting with anybody. They just wrote it how they thought labour happened. Or they went, let's go for maximum comedic effect and just throw the medical opinion out the window. Who cares who's watching this?
I can imagine the poor medical consultant had pages and pages of notes about how labour progresses and the various things that have happened, medical emergencies the paramedics have responded to when it comes to labour out in the wild. Yeah. And the writers have just gone, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah,
and the poor consultant is watching this episode live going, what did they do?
Basically.
Did they read my notes at all?
So Buck's running around like a lunatic. Running around with towels and like freaking out over all the women. There's a giant baby being born from mum number 2.
Oh yeah, because Bobby again has got his like magic diagnosing hat, and without even asking about the woman, do we have a name for mum number 4? No, we don't have a name for mum number 4. Mum number 4, this is her second child, but without even asking about how baby number 1 went, the size of baby number 1, the size of her husband, Bobby diagnoses her with long medical term, which basically means that the baby is too big for her pelvis.
Yeah, she's just going to need a C-section. He just knows. Yeah.
She's not allowed to push. He's not telling her to push.
Yeah.
Back to mum number 3. Buck gets sent over to help mum number 3 give birth, and he is in full panic stations. He's like,
this is the one who's about to have her 4th baby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Buck's like, okay, I got this. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Just keep breathing. And the woman literally rolls her eyes at Buck and just is like, oh my God, go, I got this. And he is like absolutely confused Pikachu. But, like, how are you going to give birth if I am not here? You are going to deliver your own baby? Like, yes, Buck, women have been delivering their own babies for thousands of years. We do not need men to be there. Yes. The woman just says, like, this is my 4th kid, remember? And she has another of the women doing yoga as her support person, and she helpfully adds that mum number 3 is a doula. So she knows what's going on and she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And Buck looks very relieved.
Yeah, Buck just hightails out of there. He's like, yep, good.
So the prenatal yoga class ends with 2 babies being born. One woman with a possible herniated disc and another wheeled away for an emergency C-section.
Yeah. What a complete mess. It's hilarious, but I couldn't believe it. What have they done here?
And Buck, who did absolutely nothing except panic that entire scene, is like, oh, well, I'm Buck and he's Bobby in case you want to name him after us. And all the women are like, no.
No, well, I don't think so.
Nope. I have to mention that pretty much throughout this entire scene there is a James Brown song playing, but all we can hear is like baby, 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 baby.
Yeah, accurate.
And so Buck goes, as they're leaving, you still think this full moon stuff's a myth? And Bobby just goes, yes, and I still think you're an idiot.
And now that we've had our fun, we're going to go back for a little bit of trauma. So we're back at the 911 dispatch headquarters, and Abby is sitting in the lounge area decompressing a little bit after taking that traumatic call. And there is a detective here to see her, a homicide detective. And he wants to hear the call that Abby just took.
The detective has read the transcript, but he wants to hear the tape because, people can miss things in transcripts. So he listens to the recording and, he says it's hard to hear anything under those screams. And Abby's like, oh, maybe I could find out what it, see if we could hear his voice. And the guy's like, oh, no, we already caught the guy. It's her ex-husband. Apparently he had like some protection orders against him, but he didn't confess, but they've already caught him. And yeah, if they had the voice on tape, that would make it easier, but he's off the streets, so it's all good.
Yeah, Marx is pretty convinced that he knows what's happened. He just wanted to hear his voice on the tape as the slam dunk.
Yeah, but Abby's not convinced. She's like, so she does a bit of poking around. She calls someone and asks him to pull 911 calls to made from Kathy's address over the past 3 years. And this Terry guy finds some older calls, and it does involve her ex-husband trying to open the door to get in. And yeah, the tone of the voices and whatever is just slightly different.
It's completely different. Like,
yeah.
She just sounds annoyed in the, 911 calls with her ex. She's like, this is his name, he's not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And she just, stands up to him. Whereas in the call earlier, she was terrified. And, why are you here?
I have to admit, I'm, sometimes a little bit slow. And so when Abby was going backwards and forwards between the 2 calls, I initially thought that she was going to doctor one of the 911 calls to put in Trent's voice in order to help Marx out. But it wasn't until she said, it's not the husband, they got the wrong guy, that it finally twigged to me what was going on, that she was comparing and contrasting the 2 calls and realized that the woman who had yelled at her husband and called him a psycho was not the same woman that was absolutely terrified and wondering, why are you here, in the call that she just took.
Yeah, well, when she was explaining later, there's a scene later where she's explaining what she thought were her thoughts to the detective guy, and I was like, well, is it really that different? Did she just see him there and he had a weapon or something and she got really scared? That could be totally the case. I was on the detective side for a while there. Yeah, but anyway, it turned out her way in the end, which it could have been either way, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if they made it clear enough that...
I think watching it for the 5th time, yeah, you could definitely hear that there was a marked difference between the two calls and where they were intending it to go. But yeah, first time around, sometimes they over-explain stuff, sometimes they don't explain stuff enough, and I think this, especially to start with, falls into they didn't explain this clearly enough. I don't think.
Yeah, sometimes it's annoying when the character will work something out because they have more information than you do, and then that only gets revealed later, and then you're like, well, I came to a certain conclusion, but I didn't have all the information, you know, but the character obviously knew what was happening. But I think in this case, she's just she's making a conclusion that may or may not be true, but it turns out in her favour, which is great. But, you know...
Look, just like Buck and Bobby are excellent doctors, Abby is an excellent detective, okay?
Right, yeah, she is, yeah. But we go to a different 911 call operator who takes a call from a guy who's saying that there's a dude running around tossing garbage cans and kicking cars. He knocked some homeless guy out, and what's he doing? Oh my God, what's he doing to that guy? So Hen, Chim and Athena, this is the call they got to go to the park where there
we're doing a little bit of jumping around. So this was the call that they got. Actually, no, it wasn't, because that was MacArthur Park and this is Temple Beaudry.
okay.
So that means that they have been to MacArthur Park. They are now at Temple Beaudry. They still have Athena with them. She's obviously just decided to tag along with them for the night. And it has taken the entire MacArthur Park call and the drive to Temple Beaudry to discuss what had happened at Nora's house.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Chim's just not letting it go.
Yeah.
Jim's just packing all the pop culture references he can into it.
It was a twist on the call was coming from inside the house, only it was reflection, so there was no call, so that it was nothing like that at all. So he says that it's a full moon, maybe it was a spirit. To which Hen just goes, spirits don't leave muddy footprints. Chim's response is, you don't know that. What if it was raining in purgatory? And my little supernatural brain just went, well, actually. But we don't get to have that discussion because Athena tells him to stop talking because they have reached the scene. And it's a doozy.
Yeah, this is... Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go trigger warning for the cannibalism is going to kick in here. So if you were fine with everything else but you're not on board with cannibalism, stop listening now.
Yeah, just skip forward like a minute or two.
Yeah.
There's people screaming. They go and investigate, but they find a homeless guy who is lying on the ground. He's all covered in blood. And I can't remember if there's bits of him missing or what, but he's bloody anyway. And they find a man yelling. They hear a man yelling, get off me, get off me. And there's another man like on top of this guy who's like ripping a piece of the guy's face with his teeth. It's just, yeah, he's covered in blood.
Full on like zombie mode. Like he's shirtless, he's covered in blood, and he's eating a man's face with his teeth.
Flesh dangling out of his mouth.
Yeah, it's pretty graphic.
And Athena speaks for all of us when she asks, what the hell is this kid on? Because like he has to be on something, right?
Hen says probably bath salts.
Which I did look up. It is similar to meth and coke, the effect that it has. It causes, people take it because it will cause euphoria, but then it also devolves into psychosis, aggression, paranoia, hallucinations, all the fun stuff.
So is it like ice?
Yeah, I meant to look up, but I forgot to see when like the whole bath salts things was happening, because I feel like it must have been around then, because you just don't really hear about zombies anymore.
I don't... Anyway, so Athena tells our cannibal to step away from the man, and we get to see Athena from the cannibal's point of view, and her eyes are glowing white, and her voice is distorted and evil sounding, and everything is in shades of grey. He's definitely
Yeah, this guy's
definitely
really
tripping.
disturbed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and he rushes at her, and she actually tries to use a taser first. Like, she fires the taser, and the guy kind of has a bit of a reaction, but then he just yanks the taser pins out of himself and keeps coming. So,
Which, wow.
yeah, terrifying.
Because those things pack a punch.
Yeah. No, but if you're
Speaking from
hopped up
experience,
on
Bex,
enough, then you can power through that. I have heard of that happening before. And also, they don't, like, this guy had no shirt on, so the things actually went into him. But if you fire a taser wrongly,
and he just ripped them out.
If you fire a taser wrongly and someone's wearing a shirt, it can, if both pins don't go in, it's ineffective.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So
close the
tasers
circuit.
don't always work as well as you hope.
But I mean, we can hear the electricity crackling,
it's
so we
working.
know that the circuit has been closed. He is getting the voltage. He just does not care.
No, he's just like, okay. But yeah, she just pulls her gun and shoots him.
Yeah, but she does like 2 body shots first as per procedure, and he just continues at her. And so eventually she has to take him down, so it's a shot between the eyes, which, you know...
Full zombie headshot.
Well, yeah, she obviously has not followed the rules. It's always, you know, double tap to the head is what's going to take him down.
Yeah, it's rough.
So yeah, Athena tells Hen to make sure the other guy, as in the one being eaten, is okay. And while they're loading the victims into the ambulance, Chim says detectives want a statement from both of them and offers to go first and asks if he should refer to the guy as the perp or the face eater. Oh, Chim.
Whatever floats your boat, Chim. So Chim goes to give his statement. Hen's personal phone rings, and she is a better person than I am because she doesn't recognize the number, but she answered the call anyway. You won't catch me answering a phone if I don't recognize the number.
No, me either. It's always a scammer.
I don't even answer the phone if I know the number.
You won't
just sit
answer
and
if you
watch it
do know
ring
the
and
number?
Yeah, like I'll watch it ring and then text the person like, "Hey, what's up?" Sorry, I missed your call. I was in the other room. Like, there are like 3 people that I answer the phone to, and that's my parents, my brother, and my best friend.
Fair enough.
Anyone else, I'm like, ew, why is the phone ringing?
That obviously doesn't make good television, so Hen
No.
answers.
What?
Hen
A
answers
socially
her
awkward
phone.
person in their room staring at the phone's not good television? How dare you?
But you can tell that she doesn't know who the person calling is because she answers it very professionally with this is Hen. And the person on the other end of the phone says, well, it better be because I called her cell phone. And Hen, as well as not recognizing the number, doesn't recognize the voice. And so, as you would, asks, who is this? And we cut to Eva. And she says, Palmer Women's Correctional Facility. To accept the charges, please press 1. Except the room that she is standing in does not look like a correctional facility. It looks like an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Eva had Hen a couple episodes ago come into prison, is Hen's ex and the mother of Hen and Karen's son.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted Hen to like testify that she was okay to come out on parole, and Hen decided with Karen's advice not to do it.
Apparently. I don't think we ever really got a resolution, but when Hen here acts surprised and says that Eva is out, Eva says, yeah, I'm out, baby, no thanks to you.
Yeah. And Hen does say, oh, sorry about that. But he was like, it's okay, I'm just messing with you. And she's been out for a week, but she's got herself sorted out. She's got a job, and Hen's like, okay, I'm kind of at work, like, gotta go. But Eva's trying to get her to come over and come and celebrate and show her place.
Yeah, she literally
it's
just
not
says,
much, but
come over.
it's got a bed. And Hen's like, really? You're
But
awful.
Hen is buying all of this.
Mm.
Eva is flirting with her, and Hen is letting her, and she's even flirting back.
Yeah, Eva's not even being subtle. She literally says, you know, there's a bed.
Yeah.
When Hen says she's awful, she goes, I know, so come over and let me apologise for being so awful, and maybe I can put you in another awkward position. But when Hen, like, goes to flirt back, Athena walks up, and Hen immediately is just like, look, I'm glad you're home. I've got to go.
I gotta go. Yeah, that's not suspicious at all, Henrietta.
Yeah, so Athena says everything's okay for now, and she's got to go back to the office to talk to the DA and people and make, you know, so they can make sure that the shooting was all above board and everything. So Angie's probably going to have to ride the desk for a couple of days again until, you know, they're satisfied. So Hen says she's got Athena's back if they come for her. But Athena knows that something's up, and she says, that wasn't your wife on the phone, was it? And but she says everything's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, she's clearly...
Athena doesn't buy it.
Yeah, Hen is clearly acting off.
Athena disagrees with the everything being fine. She says, you know, everything was fine in my marriage until the bomb went off. Hen tells her that, you know, Karen is not a bomb waiting to go off, and Athena just looks at her and says, I didn't say Karen was the bomb. She's a very observant woman sometimes, Athena. Maybe not about the correct things, but yeah, some things she is. So we go back to 911 headquarters, and Abby has called Detective Marks back and is playing him Kathy's previous 911 calls to try and illustrate the difference between the two calls. But Marks is just locked in with, he's got his suspect, he's got his case. Everything that Abby says is just more nails in the ex-husband's coffin. He doesn't want to hear any other theories. I don't think he can hear any other theories. He's just so fixated on getting this case closed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, effectively, she's making more work for him. So I can understand where he's coming from here. But yeah, she pushes back and she just say that, you know, this is, you know, she'd think it was her ex, but she was terrified of this person who came in tonight, and she doesn't think that it was him.
Marks has had enough. He's obviously, it's a long night. He just wants to get everything done and dusted and move on. So he kind of implies that Abby might be a little bit affected by the call, and she's not willing to let it go, and that's why she's become fixated on this. Basically the hysterical woman argument, to which Abby just gets very calm. She says that she takes 200 calls in a 10-hour shift. She listens to every single one of them. She is not hysterical, emotionally distraught, because she can't afford to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like she has to take a call and then move on to the next call.
She can't afford to be affected the way that Marks says she is, and he doesn't really like that answer.
So yeah, Marks is like, look, 99% of the time, the guy I think did it, and it's my job to find the evidence to prove it.
And Abby says that it's her job to listen and hear everything that the people say to her. So they're at a stalemate, but Marks has the power in this situation, so he's like, look, we'll take everything that you give us into consideration. Which everybody everybody in the room knows that taking that into consideration is he's going to file it in the special filing cabinet, which is the rubbish bin. Yeah.
Bit of Michael Scott coming in there.
Terry was sitting in on that call, who is the guy that pulled the original 911 calls for Abby. and he tells her that she might not have convinced Marks, but she convinced him, and there's something that she needs to hear. And he pulls up the original 911 call, but he starts futzing with the audio, and there is another woman's voice audible on the recording. Somebody else was there with Kathy when her husband was trying to get in.
Yeah, reminding her to tell 911 that she has a restraining order against her ex-husband.
Terry's not entirely sure what it is that he's found, but Abby says that it gets them eyes in the room and it gets them a witness that can help to tell them what was going on, because the one person who could tell them, Kathy, can't anymore.
Yeah. So then we go to LAPD headquarters and we go back to Athena.
And it's a good thing that she's back riding the desk, because she's in exactly the position she needs to be to help Abby.
So yeah, basically like she's being investigated because all incidents that involve use of deadly force have to be investigated. But yeah, like the guy who's investigating her says, you know, it was fine, I've got your back, you did everything by protocol.
He even says it was a good shot.
Yeah. But yeah, so then Abby calls her.
Yeah, it hasn't been long since she got put on desk duty in the first place, or, you know, came off desk duty before. So don't give him a reason to make it longer, you know. Just chill.
She's going to have a permanent desk at this rate.
Yes.
So yes, Abby calls Athena. I can't remember, was that on her personal phone or... Yes. Again, with the personal phones. Yeah. Abby loves calling everyone on her personal phone. Nothing's ever official. They make a little bit of small talk. Athena asks about how Abby's night's going. Abby says that it's been a little bit unsettling, sort of trying to segue into what favour she's about to ask, but Athena asks if it's more unsettling than having performed emergency tracheotomy on a first date, to which Abby kind of laughs and said, oh, you heard about that, did you? So who at the 118 spilled the beans, do you think?
Well, I mean, Buck hadn't been around for a while because he was in hospital recovering from the emergency tracheotomy.
Yeah, Athena was probably like, where's that pain in the arse gone?
Well, let me tell you.
Look, it's a pretty funny story. I'd be telling everyone too.
Chim probably called this a whole address book. It's just like, hey guys, I'm not the last one in the hospital, guess what?
Yeah.
So eventually Abby gets down to business. She wants Athena to track down a police report trying to find if there is a witness listed in the report associated with the 911 call that Kathy made back the first time. And while Athena is searching, they kind of compare their nights.
Athena says that Abby said something about a home invasion that turned into a murder. And Athena says, well, I see that and I raise you to a man high on bath salts eating another man's face. And Abby says she might be starting to believe in all the full moon crap.
Athena's not going to believe the full moon crap until she sees werewolves. Although,
yeah, don't say that.
Ma'am,
because,
you just saw a man eating another man's face.
Yeah, that's next. Werewolves is next on the list, I'm sure. But she does find the records of that 911 call before, and it's weird because the witness is Nora Curtis, that Athena recognises was the woman she was just at earlier for that guy she saw outside of her house. But it's actually a different Nora Curtis who's younger, and it's actually her daughter. The elderly Nora's daughter. And so Athena starts to put things together and realizes that she's actually the elder Nora Curtis has gone to spend the night with her daughter, who is the younger Nora Curtis, and this could be a problem. They could be in danger.
I do like that, like, Abby's like, oh, I took that call. Like, does Abby take every important call?
Yes.
Yes, in this television show she does. Of course she does.
It's part of the algorithm of the dispatch. You know, they have an AI that checks to see the possible importance of a call, and if it's important, it gets routed to Abby.
If this is a major plot point, go to Abby.
Go to Abby.
Terry takes the kitten stuck in tree. Abby gets the important ones.
Yes.
So then we're going to cut to the Noras. The mother is Nora, the daughter is Nora Jane, in order to
that's right.
differentiate the two of them.
They don't do Junior is only for male offspring.
Clearly, yeah. But they've still got the J in there, so it's Nora Jane.
Yeah. I guess you could have Mary Jane. I don't think Jane is always indicative of a
No, I don't think
offspring, but no.
So the mother and daughter are fighting over sleeping arrangements when Nora Jane's phone rings, and it's Abby, and this time it's a professional call. She's using a headset.
Oh, there you go.
She confirms that she's talking to Nora Jane, says that she is a 911 dispatcher, and Nora Jane goes, "Oh, you're just checking in on my mum." And Nora the senior is like, "Oh, Abby, how nice, she's checking in on me." And Abby's like, No, concentrate.
You could be
I'm
in
very
danger.
impressed that everyone remembers Abby's name, because I remember nobody's name ever.
Especially when she was distraught at the time and only spoke to her for a few minutes, you know.
Yeah, like she's having a panic attack.
But I mean, she was on the phone with Abby the entire time before Hen and Chim got there, so that's 10 minutes.
Yeah, but it's not like
Chatting
Abby
on
was
the
like,
phone.
"It's okay, my name's Abby," every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anyway,
really?
I'm just, my memory for names is just bad.
Anyway, so they're cooing over the fact that Abby is coming to check in, and Abby's like, no. Do you know Kathy Blake? Something has happened to her. And turns out that she does know Kathy. Kathy saved her life once because Kathy runs a support group for survivors of domestic violence, and she helped Nora Jane escape from her ex-husband. And Abby has put all the pieces together now. And she asks Nora Jane if her ex-husband knew who Kathy was. Nora Jane says yes, because she stayed with Kathy a few times. And Abby immediately switches into damage control and says, "I need your address now." The implication being that she's going to dispatch police to her location. She says to Nora Jane that, "I think your ex-husband has found her." And she is correct, because in a panic, Nora is kind of pacing around the room, goes over to the window, and we see Hoodie Guy standing on the nature strip with a pretty substantial knife in his hand, just staring at Nora Jane through the window.
We do get his face this time too, so...
Yes.
Only slightly less unsettling now
Yeah.
that we can see his face. Still quite unsettling.
I think it's the knife.
Yes. If it had been if it'd still been in shadow, but with the knife, that would be extra terrifying. But yeah,
right.
Anyway.
Nora Jane says that she can see him, that he is there. Abby assures her that help is on the way and to stay on the line. Nora Jane leaves the phone in the living room and goes to hide.
Yeah.
So the phone stays in the living room for the next couple of scenes. And yet we hear the audio perfectly, as if the phone is following Nora Jane around the house. So I want to know what kind of phone she's got, because that's a damn good microphone.
Because we are in both places at the same time, though. We do cut back and forth between her actual apartment and, seeing Abby and them, on the other end of the phone.
Either that or Abby's turned the gains up on her headset so that she can hear everything clearly.
I don't know if you can do that from the other end of the phone, though. You can only do that with your own microphone, not the microphone in the phone at the other end. Anyway,
It's 911 magic, okay?
it's magic.
Once again, don't think too closely, don't think too critically, or you will the magic will start to disappear and you'll be able to see the man behind the curtain. Just go with it, Bex. Just go with it.
Just go with it. Just like he busts in the door and he walks in holding the large knife, and he's looking around for Nora Jane, calling out her name. He's searching up all the rooms, but the only one left is the bathroom. And Abby is, she can hear what's going on, but she can't, like, call out to Nora or anything.
Yeah, she can't do anything. The police are still 2 minutes out.
Yeah, so, and we hear the guy saying, "I told you can't hide forever." And he pulls the shower curtain back, but it's the elder Nora Nora Senior. Yes, I'll get the words in the right order one of these days. She's hiding standing in the bathtub behind the curtain, but he doesn't do anything. He just stands there and looks at her, and hesitates just long enough for Nora Jane to say, "I'm done hiding," and then she just beats him with his baseball bat. She just whacks him one, and he falls down.
Yeah, she was hiding behind the bathroom door waiting for him to come in, and
oh my god, yeah.
Abby can hear the sound of the baseball bat hitting something, and she's calling out over the phone for Nora Jane to answer her so she can find out what is going on. And then very calmly we hear Nora Jane say, "I think he's dead." And we cut to her and she's got blood splatter all over her face,
oh my god, yeah.
all over her shirt, all over one hand. But she's pretty calm, and her mother is just looking at her with a look of pride on her face.
Yeah.
Like she's just watched her daughter beat her ex-husband to death. I don't know that that's necessarily a mother-daughter bonding moment, but apparently it is for these guys.
Apparently. I mean, maybe he was like a real piece of shit. I don't know.
It sounds like he was a real piece of work. Honestly, my mum
Yeah.
would probably be proud of me.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, trauma for everybody.
Yes. Trauma with a happy ending, though,
Yeah, I guess.
because Nora Jane tells Abby that she and her mother are fine, that she was ready for him this time thanks to her.
Yeah.
And back
Okay,
with the
back-
emotional whiplash.
We go back to the other interesting trigger warning.
Oh yeah, which one's left?
So we get another 911 call. I think this is the last one of the night.
Yeah.
It's a male and he's groaning and he sounds distressed and he goes, "Please send someone, there's something inside of me." And Abby goes, "I'm sorry, did you say there's something inside you?" And then in the background there's like bashing on the door, and like, you know, after the last call we just had, it's like, what's going
Yeah.
on?
Abby immediately assumes that someone is trying to break in. The guy's like, no, but there's something inside of me. Like, and then starts freaking out. And says that, like, "Oh my god, I can feel it's moving. What is happening? There is a monster inside of me." And he's getting very dramatic.
I just kept thinking about, you know, I don't know, I've been on the internet too long. There was this, it's probably a TikTok account, but it's this paramedic guy who people have posted stuff that they are going to use as a sex toy, basically. And this guy's
Badge
just like
502. Yep.
shaking his head going, no,
Yep.
no, do not do that. It's mostly like
Yeah.
glass Christmas decorations and stuff like that. But,
Oh, it's everything now.
yeah.
Anything that could possibly look like it could be used for
Yeah.
Good time?
Yeah.
a good time, someone will send it to him and he'll get very disapproving and very disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah, they've seen it
Yeah.
all.
So if you haven't seen him before, it's Badge 502 on TikTok.
Oh, good. Oh, you prepared this earlier. Good work.
Anyway, so we're
Anyway.
we're in a very fancy bedroom with a very modern fireplace. There's a man standing by the door to the ensuite, telling Connor to let him in now. He's scaring me. And Connor from inside the bathroom goes, "Oh, you're scared? I'm John Hurt in Alien right now." And he's the guy who had the, like, baby alien burst out of his chest.
Yeah.
Bobby and Buck appear, which, how? How did they get into the apartment if Connor and his partner are in the bedroom by the ensuite?
I just assumed that the partner, like, unlocked the door and then went back to the bathroom.
But he looks surprised to see them because they come in and he's like, oh, thank God you're here.
Maybe they just beat the door in like they often do.
Yeah, who knows? More 911 magic.
Again,
I mean, Buck loves doing that.
Yes.
So Bobby talks Connor into opening the door. Beautiful bathroom.
Oh, it is gorgeous.
It
It's
is so
big
beautiful.
too.
It's really colourful. I was going to try and look this up to see if we could work out where it was filmed. But yeah,
I just
they
assume
don't
like
have.
upper LA, like the fancy suburbs
Yeah,
on that double income, no kids salary.
and the other guy. Do we have the other guy's name? He does tell him. Paul. That's right.
Paul.
I was
Connor and
I was
Paul.
looking at Paul, going, I know him. Where do I know this guy from? And it wasn't until much later I looked it up, and it's the the doctor guy from Firefly.
Simon.
I haven't seen Firefly for years, and I'm like looking at him going, I know that guy so well. Anyway, I love him. By the way, he's fantastic.
So Connor's being, he's crouched over. I think he's sitting on the toilet. He's like clutching his stomach. He feels like he's going to give birth or something. It's the worst cramping pressure he's ever had in his life. So, like our month. And Paul just tells him to stop and says that they had sushi for lunch.
Connor's just got an upset stomach, and Connor threatens to stab him with his toothbrush if he says he has a stomach ache one more time. It was probably about halfway through this scene that I realised the way that they've both calls that Buck and Bobby have attended tonight are all to do with like things inside people.
Gynecological issues.
Yeah, so they had women giving birth, and now they've got Connor.
It was also
but
giving
the
birth.
calls are kind of the same.
Yeah.
So Connor's had cramps for a week. He was going to the doctor's Friday, says he hasn't had any other symptoms, but Paul dobs him in that he's been having a tremendous amount of horrible flatulence.
Yeah, I think there was even a comparison to trumpets at some point.
And like Connor just looks mortified. He's so embarrassed. And
Paul's having a great time.
Like they're here to help you. Just tell them the truth. And so Bobby's like actually trying to work, and Buck just starts chatting to this guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he asks, do you have a lot of sushi? And Paul informs them that Connor tries to eat it about 4 or 5 times a week, and Connor just sort of says, well, I try to go carb free and fat free as often as possible. And Buck's like, oh yeah, me too. Have you ever tried brown rice pasta? Because I find it a little bit gummy. And Connor is like, oh yeah, but so the himbos are about to get into their health and fitness routines. As an aside, I do agree that the brown rice pasta is a little bit gummy.
I just need to mention though that like Connor's like, oh yeah, I try and go carb and fat free, but he's eating sushi, which is either fish, which is like it's good fat but it's still fat, or rice, which is entirely carbs.
Yeah.
And then
I think the
they talk
implication
about
is
rice pasta, which is also entirely carbs. And not to mention, Buck's like, yeah, I try and go carb free too. Buck, the last episode you choked on a huge piece of bread.
Maybe that was his like cheat day.
Like, you didn't have to eat the bread. The bread was there. You're the one that choked. Anyway. So they start talking body fat percentage, and
Of course they do, because himbos.
Yeah. It's a little bit flirty. Paul.
Yes.
Paul is like very annoyed about this. Bobby
is very annoyed about this because
Bobby
he
just
wants
goes,
to
"Can
know
we
if
finish the most interesting conversation of all time later?" It's hilarious. Like, Bobby asks about his bowel movements. Connor's like, no diarrhea, and Paul's like, you've had like you've had it for ages. Like, he has poop shame. And, like, Connor's clearly just like, oh, don't embarrass me in front of the hot firefighter. Like, what are you doing?
They eventually get him into an ambulance.
Yeah, so Bobby tells him to take a deep breath, and Connor's, like, screaming, saying he's going to explode, so they load him into the ambulance. So this they can't magically diagnose.
Oh, no, there's no idea what's going on.
I mean, who would guess?
But the heart attack last week, no problem.
No.
So we go into the ambulance, and Connor's on the gurney. Paul's behind him. It fully looks like a delivery scene. Like,
it really does. Paul is the supportive husband.
Yeah, like,
Connor is the one about to give birth, and it's not wrong. Because he starts screaming that there's something moving under his leg, and Buck is trying to reassure him and said, no, it's just the IV, because apparently he placed the IV so badly that the cord is running under his leg. Connor contradicts him, he's like, no, it's actually moving. So they roll him onto his side, and there's this little tiny worm sticking out of the leg of Connor's boxer shorts.
Yeah, and this
like
is
little
where
tail,
I start
just
going,
waving there in the wind.
What the fuck? Like,
everyone looks so horrified, except Buck, who's like, oh, that's a tapeworm, and just picks it up.
And this, I love this scene because, like, earlier in the episode when the women were all giving birth, we had a situation where Bobby was cool and calm and in control, and Buck was freaking out. And now we've got a guy with a tapeworm that is coming out of his butt, and Bobby is the one freaking
Bobby's
out,
like,
and Buck is cool and calm and completely has this under control.
Yeah, he, like, starts just talking about worms and, like, you know...
Yeah, but you guys eat a lot of sushi, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, Bobby's like, no, it's fine. Like, they'll just give him the meds at the hospital. It's fine. And Connor's like, no, I'm not taking the drugs. I took antibiotics, and they gave me heartburn, and turned my pee burnt sienna. And Buck's like, burnt sienna. And
He's very curious about that.
Connor just screams, brown. It was dark brown. Okay.
Meanwhile, his poor boyfriend is, like, behind him, just trying to keep him calm and be very supportive while trying not to actively vomit at the idea that this tapeworm is coming out of his boyfriend's butt.
So Bobby's like, look, if you can deal with it, I'm not dealing with this. You can deal with it if you want. And Buck, who's still playing with the tapeworm, is like, oh, so you have no problem delivering a baby, but this creeps you out. Yeah, I wonder why.
And I mean, watching this episode in hindsight of what we know, season 7, Buck, does it not click to you why you had such trouble dealing with women giving birth, but you're okay with dealing with this tapeworm coming out of a guy's butt?
Oh,
like, God. No pieces clicking into place at all?
No, nothing.
Okay.
No,
so
he's just going to keep going. Yeah, good. Yep.
Cool. So he's just very gently pulling this tapeworm out.
Paul's like disgusted, but then is like, I knew you didn't go from a 34 to a 30-inch waist with sit-ups. And like, you know, they mentioned that tapeworms were an old-fashioned model's trick to lose weight, and Buck's still just like playing with this tapeworm. He's pulling it out so gently now. He says that tapeworms can live for 20 years inside you.
Oh god. I was too busy laughing at this point. I didn't catch that.
Paul describes Buck's pulling the tapeworm out as like a magician pulling one of those handkerchiefs out of his hat.
It just keeps going. And he's like, oh, you know, it's because you guys eat all these sushi. Like, it's like playing Russian roulette with parasites, and, you know, with the moon, like parasitic breeding cycles. And I'm like, why do you know so much about tapeworms, Buck?
Yeah. Bobby's just like, will you shut up about the moon?
Buck's like, this is nature, it's the circle of life. And Paul goes, yeah, I don't think that's what Elton John had in mind when he wrote that.
So the reason that Buck knows so much about tapeworms is that once upon a time he tended bar in a surf beach in South America where tapeworms were as common as house cats.
Yep.
And he finally reaches the end of this tapeworm which she says has got to be about 6 or 7 feet. It's massive. It very, very much fills the bag that Bobby holds out for him to dump it into once it pops out of him.
Fully pops out. Like, we get a full popping noise.
Pop sound effect. Yeah, I don't think it would actually make that sound if you were to do that in real life, but for dramatic effect, sure, let's have that thing literally pop out of his butt.
And Buck goes, "Congratulations, Connor. It's a boy."
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that would hurt a whole lot to have something dragged out of your intestines.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't even want to think. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. I don't want to think about it actually happening in real life at all, but yeah.
No comment.
No, and I mean, this was just such a... Like, I was laughing my head. I, like, had tears in my eyes after I was finished watching this scene, just going, what on earth is next? Like, I have no idea.
The best part is, so, like, season 7 spoilers, but I'd seen Oliver, who plays Buck, mention the tapeworm scene, and I was like, what the fuck is the tapeworm scene? And then I got to this, and I was like, oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, for context, Oliver has said that this was kind of the scene that, thinking back, he's kind of gone, oh, they are writing Buck as not straight.
Yeah.
Or I am playing Buck as not straight. He's not straight, and this is kind of where we start to realise it.
Yeah.
Well, he got on very well with those two guys.
And those two guys were hilarious. I love those actors. They played that scenario so well.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Perfect. Like, they bickered like a full, married. It was
they
great.
were old married couple.
Yeah. Perfect.
Again, with the emotional whiplash, we're back to 911. We're back to Abby and Detective Marks, who has come to her kind of hat in hand, pie made of crow, ready to eat, to apologise because she was right and he was wrong.
Yeah, he's not really sure how she was right, but, you know...
Yeah, we get a little bit of an exposition detective where he sort of lays it out for those of us in the audience who still have no idea what was going on. So he explains that the man probably broke into the elder Nora's house expecting to find her daughter. When he didn't find her there, he then went to Kathy's house. Apparently he stole her computer, and that's how he found Nora Jane's address. And when Abby comments that she's really glad that he didn't do to the elder Nora what he did to Kathy, we're told that apparently he had a soft spot for the old lady. I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yep, she says people are strange and they just shrug.
And speaking of people are strange, Athena is still at her desk, and she's called Hen because she has just received the toxicology report of the cannibal. And turns out dude was not tripping. The only thing he had in his system was alcohol.
Yep.
So there was no drugs causing him to eat faces. He was really just out there eating people's faces because he felt like it.
But his blood sugar levels were low.
So he's probably just hungry.
Hence, like, there was a Burger King a block away.
Alcohol doesn't make people think that other people have glowing eyes and stuff. Like, I don't know what that was all about.
I'm going to say that's just full-on mental illness.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Bit of psychosis.
yeah.
Yeah.
Brought on by the full moon, perhaps? Exacerbated by the full moon? Who knows? But it wasn't the bath salts.
So Hen says she has to go.
Yeah, Hen's driving.
Yeah.
And she has apparently reached her destination. And she says that she has to go. And Athena tells her to be careful because full moon or not, this is one of those nights for people to act like fools. And I think Athena is right because we see Hen's destination is Eva's apartment.
Yep. So Hen looks at her and tells Eva that she looks good. And Eva says Freedom agrees with her. And it's like this tension, and Hen says she should go home now.
But it's that, like, she's telling herself that she should go home, trying to convince herself that she should go home. And Eva completely gets that Hen doesn't want to go home.
Yeah.
So she challenges Hen. She says, so what's stopping you from going home? And as Hen is saying, I don't know, she reaches out a hand, hooks it behind Eva's head, and they're kissing.
Yeah.
Hen.
I'm
Hen.
like, no, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, you were screaming in the group chat at this point.
Oh, I'm like, seriously? I mean, it's one, like, we know that Eva was flirting with her and kind of coming on, you know.
And her first love and blah, blah, blah.
But for Hen to actually decide to go there,
Yeah.
you know, she made that choice, which
like,
makes it worse in a way that she...
When I like when I first watched the show, like obviously, you know, you're getting to know the ensemble at this point. Like it's episode 7, and I was like, oh, Hen's pretty cool. Then this episode happened, and it took me a while to forgive her.
Yeah, she's been so great up to this point. Like, you know, helping everyone out. She's doing a great job with like her job. She does her job really well. She just seemed like a very supportive person to everyone else, and then she just falls down for a moment, I suppose. Like, it's yeah, it's sad. I mean, they obviously have a nice time together, and I don't know if how early this is, but there's not a lot of lesbian sex scenes on TV. Like, they didn't really show that kind of thing on TV, but like, I guess this was only in 2018. It wasn't that long ago, but it wasn't that common to show, you know, queer sex of any kind. So
Not unless it was like specifically a queer show. So Queer as Folk, the L Word, where like all the queer people had the queer sex over on the queer shows.
yeah.
They didn't have queer sex on the straight shows.
Yeah, like I guess you could say Orange is the New Black, because that was like huge when it was airing. I guess that was still a pretty queer show.
I'd count that one as a queer show.
Yeah.
I mean, this show's pretty queer. It's had.
But yeah, so just the normalcy of the fact that you've got these two women kissing.
But anyway, so we go to Abby's apartment, and
Kissing?
speaking of kissing, and there's a knock on the door. Abby's in the kitchen, and she opens the door, and it's Buck, and he's in his civilian clothes, and he has a bottle of wine, and he's in a t-shirt, and he looks good.
And he's being so smooth.
So smooth.
Because he walks in and he goes, so I was driving home and I hit a red light and I looked up at the moon, and before I knew it I was pulling into a liquor store to buy us this bottle of wine, and then I drove straight here. And Abby's just inviting him in. She's checking to make sure that her mother is still asleep. And she's humouring him. She says, so the moon cast a spell on you. And Buck's like, it's gravity. It pulls people together. And he's walking over to Abby, and Abby's just like, no. And she tries to explain to him exactly what the moon and the phases of the moon mean with the relationship between the sun and the earth.
He's just trying to lay on a line. Like, let him lay on his line.
He's flirting with you. He's doing a really good job. So there's this moment where she's explaining about the moon, and he kind of stops, and it looks like this is actually news to him, that he did not know this about how the moon and the phases of the moon work. But he rallies pretty quick, and he changes tack, and he says, well, that's even better then. If it's not science, it's magic. Magic brought me here. And Abby's like, no, it's not magic either. At which point, I'm just like, just let him make his moves. He's doing such a good job. You were complaining last week that you weren't getting any. He is clearly here trying to give you some. Just let him.
Yeah, like he bought a bottle of wine. He drove to your apartment at night. Like, just let him do his thing, okay? But she says maybe it's not science or magic. Maybe you just really wanted to see me.
And she finally kisses him.
Yay. And then she like leads him into the bedroom.
And it's a wonderful kind of romantic, very soft scene. But it's intercut with Hen and Ava. And so it kind of sours this beautiful, it's not science or magic that brought Buck to Abby, it's because he wanted to be there. And you realise that the same applies to Eva and Hen. It wasn't gravity that pulled her towards Eva. She is with Eva because she wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But we go back to the voiceover that we started at the start with Hen going, people who are drawn together don't have the protection of the laws of gravity to keep them apart. And the consequences don't matter when we're drawn to one another. All that matters is the power of that touch, skin to skin.
But there are always consequences. Eventually the moon sets, the sun rises, and whatever happened in the magic of that moonlight has to face the hard truth in the light of day.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, she's in trouble.
And yet we go back to Hen on the beach, crying, regretting her decisions from the night before.
We also get a little cut of Abby and Buck in bed. Buck is asleep behind her, and I'm not entirely sure how to interpret the look on Abby's face. Maybe she's also regretting what has happened.
Oh, I thought she was
Maybe
just
she's
smiling.
worried about the consequences.
Oh, was she not smiling? I thought she was happy.
Like I said, sometimes I watch this on small screens, so I don't see the details, but
Okay.
if she's happy, then I'm happy for her. It just seemed really ominous that
It was
Hen's
a little,
talking about
yeah,
consequences.
it was a little ominous, you're right. So maybe it's not quite as gentle a scene as it seems.
Especially, you know, Buck is asleep peacefully and she's awake.
Yeah.
You'd think that if everything was sunshine and roses, she'd be passed out as well. Interesting. We'll find out, I guess, in the next...
We will find out in the next episode.
Which, ironically, is called Calm as a Bitch. So I wonder if all of these consequences are going to come to bear on these women
Yeah.
in the next episode.
Before we get too far away from Abby and Buck, it did just crack me up that Buck flirted with the tapeworm guy and then went immediately to Abby's house.
Yes.
I'm like, I've read that fan fiction.
I hope there wasn't a tapeworm involved in that one.
No, I'm talking about Beat Sheet, and there's definitely no tapeworm
Oh.
in Beat Sheet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Not to get all Destiel, but I'm always getting all Destiel.
I'm actually really surprised it's taken you 7 episodes to bring up Beat Sheet and Destia.
Yeah.
Oh, just wait till Eddie comes on the scene, and then I'm sure
Oh,
it'll be
good
like every
Lord.
episode. I'll be like, oh, remember that time in this fic that I'm obsessed with?
Can't wait.
We're so close too.
Yeah, not too many more to go. 3 more. Let's tell us what's happening in the next episode, and then we'll talk about what's coming after that.
Okay. We ready for my official Fox News voiceover?
Absolutely.
Go for it.
What goes around comes around on an all-new 911 Wednesday, March 7th on Fox. What goes around comes around for an unremorseful widower, an arrogant fitness club owner, and an unsuspecting thief. Meanwhile, Bobby gets a surprise phone call from his doctor after donating a Chimney's blood drive, and Athena confronts Michael after having a heart-to-heart with their kids. Trigger warnings for the next episode for anybody who's thinking of watching who hasn't watched it already. We have yet more domestic violence. We have suicide. We have anyone who's squeamish with needles and blood. Probably don't want to watch that scene. There is a scene right out of Final Destination involving a tanning bed, which, yeah, that one was triggering. And we have a dog locked in a hot car.
Oh.
But the dog's okay, I promise.
So yeah, we do only have 3 episodes left in this first season. So we're at the end of the season. We're going to have a wrap up episode where we talk about what we thought about season 1, And so if we would really love it if some listeners if you would like to write in and tell us what you thought of season 1, or you can record a voice message for us as well. You can either, or just if you want to know how to send something like that to us, you can always get in touch with us through all of our channels of communication. We've got email, we've got, our social media accounts, and we'd love to hear from you. Tell us what your favourite episode was from season 1, what you thought of the characters and their particular stories, what you hated about season 1 even. That's fine. You can tell us all about that too. And we'd love to read out some submissions from everyone for that one episode. And we've also got probably something special planned for after that, where we're going to pick an episode from this season and watch it together, and probably involving some kind of drinking game, potentially. We haven't quite worked out the details yet, but yeah. So that'll be coming up in a few episodes' time too.
So if you have any suggestions on which episode you think would get us the drunkest, and any particular cues that we should be taking shots or our alcohol of choice at during that episode, let us know.
Yeah, we're starting to consider maybe this episode 7, because, oh my God, there is some weird stuff going on in this episode. But yeah, maybe it could be other ones where there's dubious CPR, or, a number of different things. Buck makes a reference.
Alice has to take a shot every time someone does dubious CPR.
Take a shot in time to Buck's thrash metal CPR.
Oh
my God, no. Lord. You'll pass out. We'll have to call 000 on you. So yes, you got a few weeks to think about that and get your things in. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would leave us a star rating, or even respond to the comment on the Q&A on Spotify, or you can leave a comment directly on the website. You can find all of this information out at thatweewishshow.com. And you can find out all the other ways that you can subscribe to our social media and all that stuff there too. And thank you very much for listening this week, and we'll see you next time for episode 8, Karma's a Bitch. Bye.
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 911 is a fictional show, but many of the situations portrayed happen in the real world too. If any of the topics we've discussed in this episode have affected you, please know you're not alone. You can call or text numbers in your country for help. Just Google crisis support in your location to find out the number. If you enjoy our podcast, you can help us out by leaving us a review on Spotify or your preferred listening app, and by sharing our social media posts. Find out more at thatweewishshow.com.